it's Mrs. Rowe, and I am here to read you a story called My Name is Georgia by Jeanette Winter, and it is a story about the famous painter Georgia O'Keeffe. My name is Georgia. Georgia O'Keeffe was born on a farm in Wisconsin in 1887. And now this was not written by Georgia O'Keeffe. We know it was by Jeanette Winter, the author, but it is from Georgia's point of view, and it is all true. And my cat is saying hi. When I was 12 years old, I knew what I wanted, to be an artist. I've always known what I wanted. When I was small, I played for hours and hours and hours. I was satisfied to be all by myself. I did things other people don't do. When my sisters wore sashes, which was those kind of belts, I didn't. When my sisters wore stockings, I wore none. When my sisters wore braids, I let my black hair fly. I rode to town every Saturday to copy pictures from the stack in the art teacher's cupboard. At home, I looked out my window and I drew pictures of what I saw. Maybe I could make something beautiful. At school in Chicago, she went to art school, I drew from statues in the museum. At school in New York, I painted one still life painting every day. At school, I painted my teacher's ideas. So those are all still life paintings, and still life paintings are a type of painting of something still. That's how you can remember what they are. And they're usually on a table, and popular still lifes are usually bowls of fruit or vases of flowers. So at school, she painted her teacher's ideas. But when school days were over, I went out into the wide world to discover my own ideas. I went to the Texas plains, the wild west of my childhood books. You've never seen sky. It is wonderful. I walked into the sunset. I felt the wind across the plains. And I painted the sunset and the sky, and the wonderful loneliness and emptiness of the place. I painted day and night. I worked until my head felt all light in the top. I have things in my head that are not like anything anyone has taught me, shapes and ideas. But I bundled up and I went to New York City where the other artists lived. I walked down in the canyons of steel. I lived high up in the clouds, and I painted what I saw from my window. But sometimes what I saw from my window was the far away calling me. And I have a couple pictures of her paintings. These are copies of her original paintings. So this is one of her paintings from when she was living in New York City, looking out her window. And I bet you can see, that sun Something's calling her out into the distance. I painted a garden in the city. I wanted everyone to see flowers the way I saw them. So that's what she's most famous for, her flower paintings. I looked closely at the flowers. I painted a camellia. I painted it big so people would notice. I painted a jack in the pulpit, which is this kind of flower. And I painted it big so people would see. I painted poppies and petunias and sunflowers and jimson weeds and irises and apple blossoms. My garden bloomed until everyone saw the flowers the way I saw them. And I was wondering what that jimson weed flower looked like, and I found a painting of her jimson weed flower that I wanted to show you. So a jimson weed looks like that. So this is one of her paintings of the jimson weed flower. So I'm guessing it's that big flower in the middle. But still, I look to the sky. The distance has always been calling me. So I went to New Mexico in the desert, so far away that no one ever comes. I was satisfied to be all by myself. It was too dry for flowers to grow, but there were bones. I gathered the bones, big bones, little bones, short bones, long bones, a cow's skull, a horse's skull, a ram's skull, and brought the bones home to paint. One day I held one up against the sky, and I saw the blue through the hole, and I painted what I saw. And I was curious about what that painting actually looked like, and I found one that looks like that must have been what she was painting. So here's one of her paintings where you can see the bone and then the sky like a window through it. I saw the sky and the red hills, and I walked the hills at daylight and at twilight, and at noon and at starlight. I painted the arms of two hills reaching up and holding the sky. And I found that picture too, the original painting. You can see her working on it right there. But I found that right here in my book. So here's that actual painting. I painted the Pedernal Mountain, which is the name of a mountain she lived near, in the far away. I painted it over and over and over again, and then again and again. God told me that if I painted the mountain enough, He'd give it to me. I drove my Model A across the desert and back, and up and down over the hills. So a Model A is a really old car. That's what they used to look like. I painted in my studio on wheels until the afternoon bees chased me home. Even in winter, I went out into the far away and I painted in the bitter cold. I painted when the wind was so strong, it nearly blew me away. I did things other people don't do. I climbed my ladder into the night sky to wait for the sun. I slept under the stars to see the morning sky when I woke. I stayed in the desert. My hair turned from black to gray to white as the bones, and I still walked the red hills. My pile of bones grew, my flowers bloomed in the desert, and the Pedernal Mountain was mine. And the sky, oh, the sky, it was still wonderful. I painted the sky one more time. I painted my sky big so people would see it the way I did. I worked from dawn to dusk every day for weeks and months. And then as I painted the last cloud, the sun slipped behind the Pedernal, and I laid my brushes down. Kiss the sky for me. Look how huge that painting must have been. And this is the very last page. Georgia O'Keeffe lived to be 98 years old, and in museums all across the land, all across the world, really, people see her flowers, deserts, hills, cities, and skies the way that she did. And I had one more picture to share with you of her art, one of her paintings that I thought, oh, this has every single thing that Georgia is famous for. Because, you know, she's famous for her flowers. She's famous for her landscapes, her desert pictures. And she's also famous for painting the bones that she collected. So I thought this was a great picture where you can see her desert, also the sky that she loved, flowers, and some bones. So she definitely loved nature. And it says right here, this is a quote from her, so this is what she said. I have picked flowers where I found them. I've picked up seashells and rocks and pieces of wood where there were seashells and rocks and pieces of wood that I liked. And when I found the beautiful white bones on the desert, I picked them up and took them home too. I have used these things to say what it is to me, the wideness and wonder of the world as I live in it. So she just loved nature and collecting things and painting them. So I hope you enjoyed this story and you learned a little bit more about Georgia O'Keeffe. Bye.